fans, what an amazing day it is. Another Democrat raided out there in Virginia, and the usual suspects are not rushing to her defense. Normally they come out and say this is political retribution, but not in this case. Well, some of them are saying that, but not all of them. We'll get into who L. Louise Lucas is out of Virginia and what kind of activities she was up to that prompted a massive raid, multiple locations. And this isn't political retribution. Apparently, this whole investigation started back during the Biden years. So we'll go into that. Then we'll turn our attention to another, in my opinion, criminal Democrat called Ilhan Omar, who is trying to get out of the blast zone from her litany of fraudulent allegations. She is escaping subpoenas, just barely, out there in Minnesota, but the Minnesota Republicans are saying they're not going to let up on this, and they're just getting started. We've got some evidence that came out in a prior trial that is now confirming that she was having a little bit of a close connection with some of the individuals who got convicted in that trial. So we'll get into that story. We'll hear from J.D. Vance. We've got a clip from President Trump and others all coming up. Before we turn our attention to a government employee, a guy who worked over at the FAA, who got arrested and criminally charged for making threats against the president. And this was pretty wild. He was searching things like how to bring a gun into a federal building and other pretty bad things. All, of course, brainwashed by the same propaganda that we've seen here before that instigates attacks against the president, just like we saw with Cole Allen Thomas and many others. Cole Thomas Allen. And so we're going to have a beautiful stream today. Thank you for joining us. We're a little bit late today. We had a baby appointment this afternoon. We're assembling the birth team, and it's coming together quite nicely, I will say. So that's where we were, and we made it back to do the business that we need to attend to. But thank you for your patience, and thank you for joining us just 1 hour late. Hopefully now the tubes are connected all across the fruited plains of the interwebs, and we're ready to kick things off, because we've got more accountability coming today. And it looks like we're live and ready to rock, so let's do it. Virginia Democrat now raided. This is the woman who was the subject of a multi-property investigation that launched today, courtesy of the FBI and others. Her name is Senator L. Louise Lucas of Virginia. And we'll get into the details on this, but you may remember this woman from the redistricting battle. And she said this when we were navigating that entire catastrophe, which is now up on appeal in the Virginia Supreme Court. But some time ago, we read this tweet here that came down from her. And she was accusing blue senators of sitting in that strange little chair in the hotel rooms that some people call the cuck chair. Same woman, L. Louise Lucas. Remember, she said, I have the utmost respect for Senator Kaine and Senator Warner, but we do not need coaching on redistricting coming from a cuck chair in the corner, which I guess that makes her the person having sex on the bed, I guess. How about you all stay focused on the fascist in the White House and let us handle redistricting in Virginia? 10-1 is who this lady is, in case you forgot. And some people are saying on the left side that this is political retribution. The president is attacking her because of this effort. But what we'll see is this all started back during the Biden administration. And it's not Fox News reporting that. It's the New York Times. They say two people familiar with the case said the search of a lawmaker's business, apparently some marijuana businesses that she is involved in, was related to a Biden-era investigation of possible corruption and bribery related to marijuana dispensaries. So it wasn't Trump going in there and saying, indict this woman. Biden was looking into it a long time ago, and now it's coming to fruition because nobody is above the law. But we'll get into more details on this. This is the woman. Agents on Wednesday from the FBI searched the business office of a powerful Democrat state legislator in Virginia. She played a key role in the high-stakes congressional redistricting fight, including posting cuck chair tweets over on X. The legislator is called L. Louise Lucas. She's from Portsmouth. She's a senior leader in the state Senate. Many people call her a close ally of the CIA governor called Abigail Spanberger, but Spanberger is not defending her today at all. We'll take a look at what she had to say in the aftermath of these raids. And she's like, well, we're going to wait for more information to come out, in my opinion, because she knows. She's been there for more than 30 years. Two people familiar with the case said the search was related to a Biden investigation that has been picked up and continued, involving corruption and bribery for her marijuana businesses. FBI agents executed a search warrant at an office in Virginia for businesses, plural, that she owns, including a network of group homes for older adults at a neighboring marijuana dispensary that she also owns nearby. Several people spoke on this on condition of anonymity. Other locations were also searched, and we're seeing reports that there may have been 10 plus various locations as part of this massive investigation taking place all over Virginia. Federal agents served her, we've got a clip of her daughter out, with a search warrant as she entered a massage parlor on Wednesday morning. What kind of massage was that? According to two people who spoke with her, her office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The FBI search sent shockwaves. They're always shocked because they always get away with all of their fraud and their criminality until they don't. Democrats expressed a mixture of surprise and suspicion, right? Not everybody's rallying around her because I think they know, while Republicans stayed publicly quiet even as they privately celebrated. Well, we're not that quiet here. Few in either party had many details about what was happening with her. Still, some Democrats were quick to express skepticism, nodding to the way that the increasingly politicized, somebody else came out from the Democratic speaker for the Virginia House of Delegates, said, this is politicization, and they're just attacking her because of her 10-to-1 effort to steal half the state away from her fellow constituents. So she's been a long time leading proponent of legal marijuana, has introduced legislation for this that would presumably benefit her, already standing up the marijuana dispensaries, and then the legislation would come through and she'd be ready to go, capitalize on the windfall. She was also a very vocal backer of the 10-to-1 map, saying we need these new maps. And of course, that's all going up on appeal right now. And we've got an update on that from somebody who apparently is connected to other sources inside the Abigail Spanberger administration, saying they're expecting the Supreme Court in Virginia to not uphold the referendum, to say that the whole thing was done unconstitutionally, because it was. We read through all the briefings here many times over. But we saw today, this was all breaking from Bill Melugin. He said law enforcement say there were multiple search warrants approved by a federal judge that hit her office and a next door cannabis dispensary. So she's got to do a little, state senatoring work, then go over and smoke a doobie. More came from another correspondent. So Fox News was on the scene. Earlier this year, she said that they were sitting in the cuck chair, other blue Democrats, and we've got the segment here queued up. But this all came after a very interesting weekend from this woman. And she posted this also on her website. JB on May 4th over on X said, where the hell is Luis Lucas? And posted this image of the missing state senator last seen on April 21, 2026. If you have any information, call the number, fake number there. And that's her. Maybe she was just lit. She had hit one too many of those bong hits and nobody could find her. So he posted this: vitamin D, whole milk, 1 quart, missing state senator. And she responded to this. She said, I was out partying my ass off all weekend long. That was just a couple days ago on May 4th at 11 p.m. She's like, oh, crap, I better check in with my constituents. She says, where the hell were you? And what was she partying? What was she doing? Well, the party was celebrating in Lynchburg, where my daughter got an honorary doctorate in humane letters, and says it was an extraordinary weekend. And I thought I saw a post of her daughter. But anyways, they were out celebrating her daughter. I'm sure that's all it was, having a grand old time. And then they come back on Wednesday afternoon and boom, the feds are everywhere. So Fox News reports more. Bill Melugin was there. I've got a couple of clips from their reporting on scene. She's a major power broker there. She stumped for Abigail Spanberger. And you'd think that Spanberger would turn around and pay her some sort of defense for being a very strong ally of hers, but she's not doing that. There was a court-authorized criminal search warrant at her office. The FBI simultaneously carried out a SWAT team search of a nearby cannabis dispensary. The state senator arrived at her office as the raids were being conducted. She told Fox News she had no idea what the FBI agents were even doing there. Search warrants came from a federal judge. I'm sure we'll learn more about this. The raids put political pressure on Spanberger, who's facing tumbling polling numbers because she lied through her teeth to her Virginians. She said, we're not going to redistrict anything. First order of business was to come in and redistrict the heck out of the entire state. Now, in addition to serving as the Virginia Senate President pro tem and the chair of the Finance and the Appropriations Committee, Lucas also is a co-owner of a cannabis business. Previously faced scrutiny after apparently she was mislabeling products or exceeding the THC limits, just doubling or tripling it, and then going out partying with her daughter. Been a longtime proponent of legalizing the marijuana. Big social media presence, says that you have to fight fire with fire, and you have to bet your A that Democrats are ready for this fight. Virginia state delegate, a Republican and major opponent of Spanberger, told Fox News, he says, we all knew about this. Rumors of corruption and pay-to-play politics have long surrounded the Democratic Party's infrastructure in Virginia. However, no one has been willing to do anything to hold these power brokers accountable until now. He said, of course, everyone is innocent until proven guilty, but it takes a federal judge to issue a search warrant. That's been done here. He said, when the chief of police and the prosecutor tried to hold her accountable for her actions last time, guess what? Chief of police and the prosecutor were removed from office. So the last time they tried to actually prosecute her, both of the chief and the prosecutor booted. He said, sunlight is the best cure for corruption. And a big, beautiful spotlight of sunlight, no doubt. So they reached out to her and to Lucas for comment and hadn't heard much about this. But we saw that Fox News broke it accordingly. But let me show you this clip of her daughter first and foremost. Andy Fox was there. He's over with WITN TV. And he got the daughter who was on scene first. He said, you're the daughter here of Virginia State Senator Louise Lucas speaks to 10 on your side, not on her side today. Lisa Lucas explains the raid on Lucas Lodge, one of the businesses, and cannabis outlet next door co-owned by the state senator. Here's what the daughter had to say as this whole thing was going down this afternoon.
I don't know what the hell is going on. We're trying to figure it out. That's all I know.
Does it have to do with the business here or the cannabis shop?
I don't know. Both of them have our Lucas name on it, so we don't know what's going on.
Have you been told anything by the FBI?
No. Nothing.
What are your thoughts?
I have no idea.
I think I saw your mom here, then she left. Is that true?
Yeah, she's gone. My mom's gone. She's not here today.
Right. What time did this all go down?
I have no idea. We've been out here about an hour, so I think so.
Does it have anything to do with the health care?
Nothing to do with our health care. But I don't know. They here to search everything, anything related to Lucas.
What do you think it is?
I have no idea. Don't know.
No idea.
I don't know what the hell.
No idea what the hell's going on. Just showed up. Mama's getting a massage. She may want to check in with the marijuana dispensary to get a refill of whatever. And all of a sudden, it's just completely confused like everybody else. So here is what we saw from Fox News. They were on scene. More reported today.
Very influential Democrat from Virginia, State Senator Louise Lucas, is at the center of a major FBI corruption investigation. Right now, in fact, agents are executing search warrants across the Commonwealth, including her office. Alex Hogan is in Portsmouth, Virginia. Alex.
Hi, Harris. So the FBI here telling us today that these are court-authorized criminal search warrants that they are issuing. They're going into the building behind me. This is the office here in Portsmouth of State Senator Louise Lucas. You can likely see some of the FBI agents behind me. All of the staffers inside this building were told to come outside. I could hear them saying that they were not allowed back in the building. Throughout the last hour, we've been seeing the FBI come and go carrying boxes out of the building. Now, just across the parking lot next to where I am, there is a cannabis cannabis dispensary. We know that the state senator is associated with several cannabis locations and dispensaries. And what we're seeing there, a completely different scene carrying out. SWAT teams arrived with their weapons drawn, telling anyone in the building to come out of the building with their hands up. We also saw at least 3 people being taken away, taken into custody. First, they were put in handcuffs, put on the ground, and then they were taken away. So it's a slightly less large presence than we did see earlier, but there still is a good amount of FBI agents still here on the ground. Also, what happened within the last hour, the Senator Lucas arrived here herself. I was able to speak with her. I asked her what her reaction was to all of this. She told me she had no idea what they were doing here. I asked her about the different locations that they might be. She, in response, asked me what locations the FBI were at today. We know, according to officials, at least 10 locations are being looked at today. Harris.
Alex, great job getting her right as this was going on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
job.
We'll come back to you with the news warrants on this.
And I think we got some footage of that as well. But she's like, no, I have no idea. They're raiding us? For what? I didn't do anything wrong. But where else are they raiding? Can you tell me? Okay. They got that location and the corner. Okay. They haven't gone to 6th Street. All right. So perfect. Hold on a second. Delete everything at 6th Street. And she's playing dumb the whole time. So she had a rough massage today. Apparently came out of that, was feeling nice and loosey-goosey, and then all of a sudden gets a little bit more tense. She's going to need another massage and another bong hit later today. So that all went down, and we had this fella over on X called Just Human, who is a good follow, been following him for a while. He said, you know, in addition to co-owning a cannabis outlet, Virginia State Senator Louise Lucas also has ownership in other businesses. And this starts to sound familiar. Portsmouth Day Support Program. Oh, you mean like a Leering Center? Is that what you're saying? Oh, and Southside Direct Care. Maybe like a hospice center? And the Lucas Lodge. They are healthcare and disability assistance businesses, just like Little Somalia in Minneapolis. Lucas Lodge has a history of serious incidents, including deaths. The Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services website shows multiple corrective action plans across the past 5 years. In her role as a state senator, Lucas also serves on the Education and Health Committee, which oversees behavioral health and development services, as well as medical assistance. So she just sets up the businesses and then is on the other end on the governance side and helps steer contracts over to her businesses. I wonder if the FBI raids, he asks, is in relation to either a fraud setup that is similar to what has been uncovered in Minnesota, or an investigation by Health and Human Services, or the Office of the Inspector General, or more. Hat tip to this author over at Bacon's Rebellion that talks about Lucas's Lodge. And here's some more business screenshots that he shared with us over on X. Here you go. Occupation and profession, Lucas Lodge, Lucas Transportation, Portsmouth Day Program, Southside Direct Care, Assistant Professor, Congressional Liaison, Executive Director from Some Opportunity Project, Women's Program Manager. Her whole history is filled with, I would presume, to be scams. So they had some more issues over on the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Development Services website saying, oh gosh, people are dropping dead over there. 2023 death or serious incident inspection. Another one, 2022 death or serious incident inspection. A developmental disability center, day-based support service for adults. Oh, yeah, right. Somebody needs to send Nick Shirley over there to see exactly what's going on. But we already know it's the same pattern and practice that they are involved in every single place that we look. So Carly Bonney, also great on X, she shared this clip. She's laughing at this. She said, now Lucas is now circling around in her car. She's trying to figure out what the heck is happening. I'm so confused. How many other locations did they raid exactly? Can you give me the addresses? Yeah, just text them to me so I can send them to my my friends.
Were taken into custody. Federal law enforcement say that they're carrying out these court-authorized criminal search warrants at more than 10 locations across the state. Again, this is the State Senator Louise Lucas's office behind me, but we're also learning that she is connected to this dispensary here. Senator Lucas is president pro tem, meaning she's one of the highest and most powerful.
Yeah, and they're not playing around. Like, I'm wondering if there's gang-related issues or weapons-related charges, because they came out ablazing. They're armed up. They've got guns drawn. They've got this dude slowly doing the walk back. Get down on your knees, hands behind your head, interlace your fingers. Then we're going to put you in handcuffs. They've got this other dude over here with the backwards hat on who's already in their custody.
Figures in the entire state legislature. And when she arrived here, I asked her about being here as the FBI raided these locations. Take a listen.
Is there anything that we can say about what they're doing?
I don't know what's going on. I just came from another appointment, so I'm just gonna wait until they tell me.
So again, dozens of members of the FBI arriving here and being here throughout the last hour, taking boxes of documents we could imagine from the office behind me. They're also still at this cannabis dispensary. We have seen the senator circle around a couple times in her vehicle. Clearly, as we heard her say in that comment, that she doesn't know why they're here. A lot of questions for the people in the community who are coming out taking pictures, wondering again what their senator could potentially be involved with, as we're waiting to hear more information as well. Harris.
All right, Alex, thank you. Keep us posted as you have great reports.
Yeah, so somebody needs to check maybe the daughter for DUI. I mean, they've got the marijuana dispensary over there. She was not driving the car. She hopped into the passenger side. But yeah, maybe there's DUIs also associated with this. But anyways, so she has no idea. And the raids were underway today at 10 plus locations. They had their guns drawn. They have people in handcuffs getting arrested. So presumably they've got something juicy. And as we've heard from other people who are in Virginia, as Fox News reported earlier in their article, sounds like they've known about this for a while, that she has been investigated, and the people who were doing the investigations got fired, got removed, got kicked off the case so that she could continue on with her criminality, paying off the right grifters, and escaping justice at every turn. So you would imagine that if she was an innocent person, you would get a full-throated defense from the CIA governor of Virginia called Abigail Spanberger. But she didn't say that today. She came out and was very neutral and even-keeled, which I think means it's a good indicator that Senator Lucas is cooked. Here is the CIA governor from Virginia.
I want to talk to you about what's happening a few hours away. Senator Louise Lucas's home, our office rather, was raided by the FBI. At this point, do you stand by the senator, or are you concerned? Because our sources are telling us this is about bribery and corruption.
Well, certainly I am aware of the law enforcement action that occurred in Portsmouth, and I am awaiting more details to become public before weighing in with any strong public comment. And as more information becomes available, I look forward to making further comment.
I want to talk to you.
That's not a ringing defense in any sense of the concept. So I am just going to not say anything, because there's some other non-public materials that may be coming out. And when they do, it's going to be devastating. So I'd rather just not speak about it, even though it sounds like these two were working hand in hand to get Abigail elected and then to shove down and ram through Virginians' gullets the insane redistricting operation. And now I don't want to talk about it. Okay, let's talk about something else, which means she's cooked. So here was more on this. We have been keeping our eye on the redistricting lawsuit. We saw that, of course, the Virginia referendum passed by a very small percentage, just barely. And what happened after that, of course, or it's really been going on even before this, is they said that the lawsuit was completely unconstitutional. I'm sorry, the referendum was completely unconstitutional. And so they filed the lawsuit to prevent the certification of the new map from going into effect. We covered the entire oral argument here in the Virginia Supreme Court. And it was hard to get a read on exactly what was going down in the Supreme Court, because obviously we know a lot less about those judges. And I think only 2 or 3 of them actually spoke. The other judges didn't say a word during the entire set of oral arguments, and been waiting for a decision. And so the thesis is if they were going to reverse the lower level judge out of Tazewell County, the judge who said this whole thing is completely messed up, you didn't appropriately pass it through the proper procedure, you're in violation of the Virginia Constitution, you cannot impose this new map. And so he prohibited the certification of the new map. There were deadlines after the referendum passed by which they were supposed to certify it, but none of that has happened yet. So the thesis would be the longer that it takes for the Supreme Court to issue a ruling, the worse it is for Virginia, because we start inching forward towards the primary season. We start inching closer to the general election in November, and they need to print the ballots. They need to find out who's running in what districts and who to attach to the actual voting materials. Haven't been able to do that. So the longer it goes on, the worse it is. And this is Dan Turrentine. You may have heard him. He does a lot of cable news analysis and commentary. He's also over on with the two-way guys over Mark Halperin's organization. He's a Democrat, and he's a pretty reasonable guy, but he's plugged in aggressively with the Democratic Party. And he is saying they're hitting the panic button over there in Virginia, thinking that this thing is not going to come out of the Supreme Court looking so good. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I talked to some of those same people yesterday, and what I was told is they now think it's less than 50% that the court will let the certification go through. And what really triggered it, they said, was when the court didn't rule by Friday afternoon. The time they don't believe is on their side. And what apparently transpired over the weekend, and this person would know, they're in contact with the people I'm about to say, is that the governor's staff is now snipping at the Senate Majority Leader and House Speaker that they warned them last fall this would not pass legal review. Well,
and it's not. We saw a whole slew of problems from the Tazewell County judge that are fatal to the entire cause. There were procedural problems. There were substantive problems. We saw how rigged the entire ballot measure was when they said, do you want to restore democracy to Virginia and temporarily extend this new rigged map? Or are you a fascist Nazi dictator who wants to see everybody murdered in the streets? Yes or no? You're like, wow, that's interesting. I mean, I guess I'll vote yes because I'm not a Nazi, essentially is how the ballot measure was laid out. But maybe they should have listened to the guys in the cut chair, Warnock and the others, who, including Senator Kaine, who said, maybe you shouldn't do this because it's not going to work out. You're going to lose this whole thing and you're going to burn a bunch of political capital to do it. But we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Of course, the Supreme Court out of Virginia has not ruled yet. But we did see in a parallel maps case, we covered this yesterday at the conclusion of the show, Alito absolutely blasted Ketanji Brown Jackson, saying she's baseless, she's irresponsible, her rhetoric was reprehensible, and that she should rethink her entire existence on the Supreme Court, essentially. And no leftist judges joined Ketanji. She was on her own. No Judge Kagan, no Judge Sotomayor, because even they didn't want to touch her dissent with a 20-foot pole. But we also saw that this is about the Calais case, Louisiana versus Calais, the idea that there were racist maps that were drawn all throughout the country in an attempt to comply with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Supreme Court reversed that and said, you actually are not dealing with racism by being more racist. That's not what the 15th Amendment said. And so the idea has to be interpreted differently, and it now is. And so the states are now taking that holding and going back and saying, time to redraw the maps so that they're not actually racist. And we saw that the Robinson plaintiffs submitted a request to recall the judgment. So Alito said, no, we're not recalling everything. You have ordinarily 32 days to come in and file a secondary follow-up motion. They didn't do that. They had expressed no intent to do that. And even if they had expressed an intent to do that, there was no basis to do that anyways. So he said, we're issuing the judgment forthwith. It's going back down. Louisiana, all the other states who are considering this can now start to redraw their maps with the blessing of the Supreme Court. And then the day after, the Robinson people submitted a motion to recall the judgment. It was too late. as we commented yesterday when we looked at the docket. But now today, we've got on May 6th on Wednesday, just a very short order from the court. It says the motion of Press Robinson et al. To recall the judgment is denied. And so, no, we're not recalling anything. The judgment stands. It goes back down to the rest of the states, and the new maps can be drawn. But the little missing thing we see here is no dissent again from Ketanji. So maybe she got the hint. Alito absolutely blasted her yesterday in a way that you very rarely see from the Supreme Court. And so if you missed that, be sure to check that one out. But as it stands, we now have the Supreme Court blessing actual maps, not racistly drawn maps, courtesy of the Democratic Party that benefit their political agenda by saying all people of a certain color belong together and then claiming that that's not racist. So that fails. Looks like the Virginia Supreme Court effort is going to come back down. It's not looking good, according to Abigail Spanberger. And another key, sounds like corrupt Democrat power broker in Virginia now had 10 plus locations all raided. So big shifts happening there in Virginia. And of course, no one is above the law. They said this repeatedly. And if they ever say that this is political retribution, we can just remind them this was a Biden era investigation. They started it. Presumably they didn't finish it because it was a key ally. Now justice is coming. So we're going to keep our eye on this one. Thank you for subscribing wherever you're watching, and we'll keep our eye on it. Now, we've got more fraud to talk about because Ilhan Omar is now getting busted. Ilhan Omar and her fraud now coming under additional scrutiny. The Minnesota Republican Party and others on the Oversight Committee are trying hard to hold her accountable. But as usual, the Democratic Party, which is a beneficiary of this endless fraud, circled the wagons around her to protect her from any scrutiny, from any accountability that is due to her crimes. And we're getting this report over from the New York Post. They tell us now that her name came up 6 times in a $250 million fraud case after she loosened the oversight of the federal funded food programs. And you may remember this case, which was called Feeding Our Future. And just about a month and a half ago in March, almost a year, so let's say 13, 14 months ago, 2025, we're now seeing some of the records of the case that are now emerging, and Ilhan is being connected to it. So the federal jury found that the masterminds behind this Feeding Our Future scheme and scam were guilty. And it was $250 million, an insane amount of money. The woman's name is called Amy Bach and Salim Saeed. They took advantage of the COVID pandemic. A bunch of money was supposed to go in and feed children and go to good use, but they didn't do that. They said that they served 91 million meals. Okay, 91 million meals. Think about how many that is. And then they fraudulently received $250 million in federal funds. Now, did that money feed kids? No, it didn't. It went to fund their lavish lifestyles. And so they all got convicted on this. And apparently in the trial, Ilhan's name was riddled throughout. They said they took advantage of a global pandemic. They robbed food from starving kids. They were supposed to serve those in need, but they didn't. They were supposed to give it to low-income children, but they all committed fraud and brazenly stole from the American public. And the verdict reaffirms that these criminals cannot come out and prey on our citizens. Now, historically, the federal children nutrition program provides meals to children in school-based programs or other activities. And Amy was 44 at the time. This was proven in trial. She was the founder and the executive director of Feeding Our Future. As we're going to learn, Ilhan was approving and lessening the grant requirements so that she could get all of this money. Salim Saeed is also 36. He's a former co-owner of a safari restaurant. He was jointly tried with Bach. Together, they oversaw this massive scheme. They said that they recruited individuals and entities to open up these food sites throughout the entire state of Minnesota. These sites were created and operated by these people. They fraudulently claimed to be serving meals to children, thousands of children every day. within just days or weeks of being formed. They open up a little tent on a corner. Thousands of kids just come out of the woodwork. Hi, I'm hungry. Oh, sure, little Robbie, here, have a meal. They had fake attendance rosters purporting to list the names and the ages of the kids. They submitted the fraudulent claims over to the Department of Education and then dispersed the fraudulently obtained funds to all of their co-conspirators. Feeding Our Future got $18 million in administrative fees. They were not entitled to any of it. Employees solicited, they received bribes and kickbacks from individuals and companies that were all connected with this. They were paid in cash. They were disguised as consulting fees. They created shell companies to make them all appear legitimate. By July of 2020, Saeed, he claimed to be serving meals to 5,000 kids a day. Think about how many kids that is. 7 days a week. And our government's just like, here you go, have some more money. In total, they said that they served 3.9 million meals to children at his restaurant. How many people do you need to make 3.9 million meals? In total, they opened more than 250 program sites throughout the state, then got $3.4 million in federal funds in 19, all the way up to $200 million in 2021. What'd they do with it? They purchased luxury vehicles, commercial real estate in Minnesota. They went to Ohio. They went to Kentucky. Oh, they went to Kenya and to Turkey. And they bought property over there. And they had international travel. So Amy Bach was convicted on 4 counts of fraud, multiple conspiracies, bribery, 8 counts of bribery, and other things. And they all were sentenced accordingly. Now, the problem with this is that Ilhan, who is on the other end of this, is apparently loosening oversight of the food programs. And her name came up a bunch during trial. And now Minnesota is discovering this. And they tried to issue a subpoena for her just this week. And the Democrats voted it down because they're all involved in similar grifts and scams. So they tell us the documents that now came out were a part of this fraud case, fueling speculation about whether Ilhan had a hand in this. The documents were part of the 2025 trial, which we just refreshed our recollection on. She is now awaiting a sentencing hearing on May 21. Gosh, this happened like a year ago. Hasn't been sentenced yet? Omar came up in a Feb 5, 2021 email chain with Amy Bach with the subject line, help with the USDA food program. The trial exhibits now show. There's Ilhan. The Congresswoman's Meals Act, so she passed some legislation, loosened oversight of the federally funded food programs during the pandemic, which paved the way for the Feeding Our Future's fake claims. A few days after that email to Omar on Feb 28, Bach exchanged messages with this guy called Abigail Deliche, a Feeding Our Future employee who fled the country after he was indicted in 2022. I thought they were all just here to be a part of the American dream. And they're good, honorable Americans. Yeah. Then leaves the country, comes here, commits fraud, steals probably $1 million plus, and then exits, abandoned ship. The subject line of their emails was Ilhan's office, according to court documents. Now, while the list of exhibits is public, the contents have all been sealed by the court, which is why we haven't seen this stuff yet. And of course, we know federal trials are all under lock and key. There's no streaming audio. There's no video. You want to go get the transcripts? You got to pay for that crap, man. It's expensive, thousands of dollars in order to get the transcripts. And then you have to sift through it all. You want the exhibits? You got to pay for it. So the exhibits, and now all of it was sealed because, of course, they don't want anybody to know the extent of this. So the exhibits also include a text message string between Bach and Omar, Ilhan, Amy Bach, the lead fraudster, and Ilhan, which was uncovered during a raid of her Minnesota house. Now, Bach has been leaking documents from behind bars. Oh, shout out to her. Through her college-aged son ahead of her sentencing to try to shift some of the blame to the elected officials. That's incredible. Yeah, that's incredible. And the DOJ should see about this. They should say, you know, we'll make a very light sentencing recommendation if you give us the people who enabled this. Who were you working with? Was it Tim Walz? Was it Keith Ellison? Was it Ilhan Omar? Were there other judges in this district that were doing this? Do you want to go to prison for 20 years or do you want to work with us and we'll give you a very, very light sentencing recommendation? Love this. Now, it's unclear if those leaked documents were related to Omar. That apparently is her. Bach was convicted of wire fraud and other charges. After she failed to show up last week to a hearing of the Minnesota Fraud Committee, the committee chairman and the state assemblywoman called Kristen Robbins, she sent a letter to Omar demanding that she turn over correspondence related to this case. And they tried to subpoena this evidence, and Ilhan was protected by other Democrats who will come out every single day and lecture America about how much they care about fraud. Tim Walz will try to take credit from an FBI raid going to arrest the fraudsters. But then when it really push comes to shove, they don't do anything that would lead to actual accountability. They just continue to protect their own. This guy said, Robbins said, I think it just shows incredible arrogance and disdain for the people of Minnesota. He's running as a GOP candidate to take over Tim Walz's job, saying she's refusing to show up and answer questions in person. She's refusing to respond to our request for data. And I mean, honestly, she's even refusing to respond at all. Because what are they going to do about it? It's Minnesota, nothing. When I say they ghosted us, it's because we've had no replies. She's an elected public official. She should at least want to share with the public how her office was involved in this. And I think the taxpayers deserve it. And Ilhan, she had to revise her financial statements. She was a multimillionaire, and then all of a sudden she's broke when she submits her records to Congress. How'd that work out? Oh, it's an accounting error. Yeah, right. Then the winery wraps up all of its affairs, closes out the LLC. Stop looking into her, okay? She just made mistakes, according to Tim Walz. We know there's more to this story. This is Bach posing with a man in a black luxury convertible, like a rapper or something. He is also in jail awaiting sentencing. Said, we need to understand what they were communicating about. Omar has until May 5th to turn over the documents. She has not done that. She's not responding to anything. And why should she? She has no repercussions coming her way at all. So Minnesota House Fraud and Oversight Committee, this woman called Chair Robbins, she just made a motion to subpoena Ilhan Omar. Ilhan missed the deadline, didn't turn the documents over by May 5th. So they made a move for a subpoena. Now that subpoena was voted down by the Democratic Party because they don't want to look into any of these things, because I would bet their fingerprints are all over it. It's not just Ilhan. It's all part of the same MO. We just saw it with Senator Lucas in Virginia. She's also got apparently a Leering Center and a hospice center in a whole separate state. They're all in on the grift. To hear her involvement in this fraud scheme. So this was this week on May 5th, after Ilhan refused to show up, thinking to herself, they're not going to do anything to me. I'm untouchable. I'll just call them racist and bigots. And all the Minnesotans will say, well, we don't want to be bigoted. We're happy to instead have hundreds of millions and billions of dollars stolen out of our treasury, but at least we're not bigots. Here is how this went down in the Minnesota House yesterday.
Members, as you know, we have reached out to Representative Ilhan Omar on multiple occasions, inviting her to testify and inviting and requesting documents that appeared in the trial exhibit of the U.S. versus Amy Bach. Her office or her staff was named in multiple trial exhibits, and we have endeavored in multiple ways to get access to that because, as everyone knows, Representative Omar had some role, whether inadvertent or not. She passed the Meals Act in March of 2020, and that took the guardrails off the federal school nutrition program, which created the conditions for feeding our future. And so we invited her to testify about the law she passed. We invited her to testify and talk about the documents that are listed in the court case.
Yeah, and what do you bet that a huge portion of those funds that were stolen and grifted off by Amy Bach and her other people, Amy Bach, went back into support Ilhan? Went to LLCs, nonprofits, all donating back to Ilhan, all giving her husband contracts, all buying wine and other products from all of her new businesses and services, hiring her husband as a consultant to come help them with their new endeavors, and so on and so forth. So she is stealing money and then becoming the beneficiary of it the entire time.
And she has never responded to our multiple inquiries. So then we sent a letter after the hearing 2 weeks ago saying that we would like her to respond with those court exhibits by today, May 5th. Once again, she has not responded in any way to our inquiries. And so the only tool left for us as a committee, if we want to get these documents, is to issue a subpoena. We have never done this, members, in the history of this committee. We have never done this in the history of this body except for ethics investigations, and I don't do it lightly. But Representative Omar is a public servant. She had a direct involvement in creating the conditions for Feeding Our Future. And as a representative of Minnesota, I believe it's important for the taxpayers to understand the role she played and understand the role her office played in communicating with the defendants in this case. So, under our rules, the committee is permitted by a 2/3 vote to request the issuance of a subpoena in the conduct of any investigation or activity or series of investigations or activities within the jurisdiction of the committee. Our nonpartisan staff has drafted the subpoena, which was in your packets. And with that, we would like to have a vote on subpoenaing Representative Omar for the documents in question as outlined in our letter dated April 22nd and is outlined in the subpoena, which is before you.
So how do we think the vote went? Well, it's Minnesota. We saw that in Minneapolis, they allowed organized insurrectionists to create spreadsheets and to target federal agents to go out and obstruct them when they were enforcing federal law. They wrote manuals about it. Their entire operation was to blow whistles in the ears of federal agents to make them deaf and to attack their sanity, and then play the I'm a dumb tourist as they're committing property damage, kicking the back of police vehicles out and smashing their taillights, spitting at cops, which is assault. And then when the police come back at them, then they say, I'm a victim. You're attacking me. You're killing us. Their entire operation was to incentivize a harm to them that they could then exploit for their gain. So how did it go there? Well, the Democrats all rallied around the fraudster because that's just what they do now. Kristen Robbins says the failed subpoena vote is not going to stop her, though, explaining that she refused to respond to a request for more information, prompting a vote. The subpoena required 2/3 of the committee to vote in favor of it and only got 5 out of the 6 votes needed, despite the committee's Republican majority. So even Republicans weren't voting for it? Minnesota's cooked. We have reached out to Ilhan on multiple times. We just listened to the clip. She passed the Meals Act. They probably all got rich off this crap, honestly. Someone reached out and touched base with them. Robbins noting she's going to continue to try to go after Omar, saying the federal government has a whole menu of legal options, and so they need to do that because Minnesota just won't do it. The Oversight Committee is saying, we were disappointed you failed to appear. The request also zeroed in on her public promotion of this. She was also on Somali language TV, in which Omar in Somali was highlighting the restaurant as a meal distribution site. Yeah, come over here, kids, get some meal from Somalia. You can't even speak English, but that's okay. You're in America. We'll feed you now for the rest of your lives. The deadline for Omar to respond was on May 5th. She did not do that. And Minnesota is just fine with it going on because none of them want to lose the Somali vote. They know how powerful of a constituency this is, and they don't want to alienate the foreign invaders who are now grifting off the entire country. So as we continue to learn about this, we see this reminder from Benjamin Weingarten. He's a senior contributor over at The Federalist and Real Clear Investigations. He said, here's just a reminder about exactly what happened, whereby her constituents, and in some cases, Ilhan's donors, delivered ghost meals, delivered in quotes, by the millions to non-existent kids using $250 million of stolen money under a guise of a program that was supposed to feed kids. She introduced the bill that enabled the fraud. She filmed a commercial touting the program at the restaurant that was ground zero for the fraud, a restaurant that she also hosted political events at. Going back years, she got $14,000 in campaign contributions from fraudsters or those associated with them. And office of hers apparently had contacts with the lead fraudster, Amy Bach. And the court sealed it all. So why don't they release the record so we can see these internal communications? And I hope Amy Bach continues to leak these things out from prison. And the DOJ has a lot of leverage here. All they need to do is just go say, it's a free talk. You give us some information. You just start spilling the beans about all these other people. In fact, I'm surprised it didn't already happen. But what do you have? And how can we use you to implicate the real people behind this fraud? Tying her office to the fraud prosecutions. And so here's a couple of screenshots. This was submitted, it looks like, in the trial. Several different exhibits. So we got descriptions of the exhibits. This is from 2025. A53 government exhibit is a February 5, 2021 email chain between Amy Bach and Ali Icy, copying Natasha Rice of Ilhan's office regarding help with the USDA food program. Nice. Can you help us? We need millions of dollars. A55, another February 17th, just days later, an email chain, once again between Amy Bach and Natasha Rice of Ilhan's office, which is approving the Minnesota school plan. Next day, an email from Amy Bach to Abdikarim Edla, subject re Ilhan's office. She's all over this. Look at all these exhibits. A59, March 11th, almost a month goes by. Another email chain between Natasha Rice of Omar's office and another approval of a school plan to feed the starving kids no meals at all and to steal it so she can go hang out with rappers in certain vehicles. Then B55, another text message string, Amy Bach literally texting Ilhan's office right here. And apparently the entire oversight committee didn't care. Like, well, whatever. We see millions and millions of dollars all stolen out of here. Fox News was reporting on this as well. Here's what they are hearing about Ilhan. And she is trying desperately to get out of the blast zone. She said, I'm a multimillionaire. I'm living lavish. I've earned it. My husband's a consultant. We have wineries. We got $11 million. Then everybody started to look into this. And all of this money, which was funneled into these fake organizations, the Leering Centers and the rest of them, needed to go away. So she sends in a revised financial statement, reports that to Congress, and then divests herself and closes the LLC and runs away saying, I had nothing to do with this. But we know you did, Ilhan.
Squad Democrat Ilhan Omar closing in on a deadline set by Minnesota Republicans to turn over documents about potential ties to a state fraud ring after she dodged a hearing last month. Our senior correspondent Mike Tobin is reporting live out of Chicago. He's got the latest details for us. Hey, Mike.
And Sandra, that deadline is today for Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar to turn over documents and communication tied to defendants in that massive Feeding Our Future scandal. The Minnesota House Committee on Fraud Prevention and State Agency Oversight is holding its last meeting of the legislative session today. However, the committee does not have enough votes to subpoena the Congresswoman, so the committee doesn't have a legal mechanism to compel Omar to cooperate. The chair of the committee has sent Omar multiple invitations and requests for documents. Omar does not respond. Omar now sponsored the 2020 Meals Act, which removed the guardrails on COVID relief money and helped the fraud run up to $250 million. Despite that, the chair of the Fraud Prevention Committee does not anticipate the Minnesota congressman will respond by the deadline.
It shows her continued disdain for the taxpayers. She feels like she's above having to answer for her involvement in the fraud and her responsibility as a member of Congress who, she passed the bill that took the guardrails off the school nutrition program that led to the conditions that enabled Feeding Our Future.
Now, Amy Bach was convicted as the mastermind of the Feeding Our Future scandal. Defendants billed the government never provided through existing restaurants and sham companies. Now, in Bach's trial, Omar's name appeared in an email chain with Bach. Trial evidence showed text communication with Bach and Omar. Trial evidence also showed Bach exchanged emails with one of the defendants who fled the country. The title of that email chain was Ilhan's Office. Now, back in January, our Alexis McAdams interviewed Amy Bach. She said she never spoke directly with Representative Omar, only people in her office. And the conversation, she said, were never substantive. Senator.
Yeah. Probably because she was trying to get some friendly help from the people who she was co-conspiring with. Now that she's going to be sentenced and her conviction is presumably going to stand, maybe it's time to turn and explain the truth about what Ilhan was ultimately doing. And so Joni Ernst, of course, is another senator. She's responding to this story saying, the Americans, people, we deserve answers over this Minnesota fraud. And Ilhan has no incentive to talk about any of this. I mean, quite frankly, the best legal advice is to not respond and not to talk about any of it because she knows there will be no political repercussions for not cooperating. She just comes out and says, this is retribution and Trump's attacking me and she's stealing money. I would imagine some of that money is going back into her community and she is feeding maybe some people and some people are getting rich and fat off of it. So there are some benefits that are trickling down. So she's not going to have any political adverse effects as a result of her criminality. And the only thing that can happen if she talks is anything she says and does will be used against her in a court of law. So she has no reason to come talk about anything. Joni says, the rampant corruption exposed in Minnesota must be fully investigated to protect every hard-earned tax dollar. And we work our butts off and pay a lot of taxes. It's like, what the hell for? If you can just make up a Leering Center and then get billions of dollars funneled into your fake communities. So Dr. Oz has been all over this as well. And he was talking about the hospice centers. And in this clip, he's talking about California, but it's not just California, it's everywhere. And we're learning that the state senator from Georgia, Lucas, is also apparently running a disability center and other education centers. And here's Oz explaining they've delisted 450 hospices, saying that people are dying and they're not. Unbelievable. These numbers are so enormous, it's hard to even understand, but fraud. Here's Dr. Oz.
The root cause of this problem. Nobody was paying attention. And when thieves steal, they corrupt the entire society. So these busts that you're witnessing here, conducted by Billy Asile, who's the U.S. attorney out there, are the first major efforts to show the people of Los Angeles that we are serious about this problem, which is wanton, out of control, rabid fraud, not just in hospice, by the way. There's also personal care services and other areas we'll get into. But let me put the numbers out there so everyone's clear. 1 in 3 hospices in America are in Los Angeles, not California, LA. 1 in 3. I mean, how many people are dying there? Obviously, it's fraudulent. And the red flags that were mentioned in that wonderful report are all evident. You have doctors selling their souls, basically their license number, to open multiple hospice relationships. They dishonestly claim people are dying when they're not. If they steal your money, they will steal your life. They don't care at all about you, as you saw from that wonderful couple that's thankfully now being adopted by a real hospice. And I'm a big fan of hospice. When done correctly, it works well. But when 1 in 3 hospices in the country are in Los Angeles, we believe that at least half of those are fraudulent. This is massive fraud. Now, we've already delisted 450 hospices. That is an unbelievably large number. And guess what? In that first tranche, no one's complained. No one's calling us and saying, no, we are innocent. They know they got caught. They're just going to go off and scam somebody else, which is what's happening, by the way. There's been a 7-fold increase of hospices in Nevada. People flee from California to Nevada. These scumbags just rinse and repeat. They're going to Arizona. They're going to Texas.
Why don't you throw them in jail? Just throw them in jail. I mean, put them in the pokey.
They need prosecutors.
This is a big, big decision point. When you try to put people in the pokey, it takes years of careful investigations. That's how the system is built. But you know what I can do right now, Larry? I can stop paying you. And when we tell several hundred hospices, we're no longer paying you, guess what they do? They shut their doors and they run away.
Yeah, you need prosecutors to do that. And the DOJ is bleeding prosecutors. They just don't have enough people. We just announced $25,000 signing bonuses for the civil division. And so maybe those types of incentives will bring more people in to prosecute these cases. But it's the same thing with voting fraud and hospice fraud and Leering Center fraud. They can't prosecute all of the fraudsters. It's just too big of a number, too many people. So they just keep doing it. There are no consequences for it at all. And unfortunately, the last administration was too busy going after J6ers for walking inside of a building for 5 minutes. But here is the new Inspector General. This guy's name is called Anthony Esposito, the Labor Inspector General. He's saying the previous administration under Joe Biden let fraudsters pillage American taxpayers. Now, the message from Trump and JD is simple. If you steal from the American people, we will find you, we will investigate you, and we will hold you accountable. And that's what we're doing right now.
Government level. Absolutely. It's extremely helpful because it tells the story to the American people and lets them know what the prior administration in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that they literally allowed fraudsters to pillage American taxpayers. And the fact is that now we have a president in Donald J. Trump. We have a vice president in J.D. Vance. President Trump signed an executive order putting this fraud task force together, led by J.D. Vance, and they are making sure that investigators have every resource necessary to investigate, to hunt down these fraudsters and put them behind bars. The fact is that in the prior administration, we had U.S. attorneys and others that were putting aside fraud investigations, saying that it didn't meet a certain threshold. Vice President Vance has made it very clear. There's no fraud too small and there's no fraud too big. We are going to hunt down each one of them and make sure that they are brought to justice and they are held accountable for taking taxpayer money.
Yeah, so not only was the Biden administration not prosecuting people and removing the fraudsters from the fraudulent system, they were also importing more of them and enabling the fraud by creating incentives for the fraud to continue on. So we were getting screwed on both ends. But here is J.D. Vance. He says, you know, even if it's not fraud, there are simply too many damn people collecting welfare. And huge percentage of them are Somalians. Here's J.D.
If you look at...
Let's boost that volume up so we don't miss a syllable.
If you look at the amount of fraud in the welfare system, according to the statistics I've seen, 85% of Somalians who are in the United States, legal and illegal, are collecting some form of welfare benefits. So that's not to disparage the other 15%, but when you're at 85% of a population that is collecting welfare, that suggests that we have really done something wrong with regards to vetting, and that's the fundamental issue. Even if there's no fraud, 85% collecting welfare is way too many damn people collecting welfare, getting rich off the American taxpayer while a lot of Americans struggle. That's unacceptable.
Why is it our job to feed 85% of the Somalian population? Why can't they feed themselves? Why can't they provide for themselves? Why doesn't Ilhan cut out of her money and go feed them and pay for them? And she will lecture us and say they built this whole country, as they're grifting off of the entire country. It's insane. That number is so high. It's almost the entire population. Wild to hear that number. But Trump, if you missed this clip, he was talking about the fact that Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are all complicit in it when the president was talking about the task force that's now being deployed across the country.
And what they've done is so sad. When you look at the Minnesota scam, a lot of it has to do with Somalia. Nobody's calling out anybody, but a lot of it has to do, but it's Somalia and plenty of others. And I believe the governor is complicit. I believe Ilhan Omar is complicit. I believe that your attorney general is complicit. And if they are, you're going to hopefully find out about it, and you're going to have to do what you have to do. If we found half of the fraud that's taking place in this country, and I think you have a chance of doing that, we would have much more than a balanced budget. That's the kind of numbers you're talking about. The theft is incredible. And I think JD will make, and Andrew will make a charge later on that local states should handle nursing homes and all of these things that the federal government shouldn't be involved in. It's too big. The federal government should handle military and a couple of other things. But when it comes to nursing homes, you saw where a young gentleman was going around and knocking on doors, and none of the nursing homes existed, none of the nurseries existed. The money that's being paid out, and the federal government pays for it. When you see all these people coming in illegally into our country, many criminals, many drug dealers, murderers, 11,888 murders, and you look at California, and more come in, and yet they never had money, and yet they pay them. You know why they pay them? Because the federal government is charged with paying. We're not paying them anymore, and I said that. So these two.
We have a lot of money that is being stolen every single month. Still, they're trying their best to stop it all. But the Biden administration refused to prosecute and simultaneously brought in more fraudsters. And we still have it going on every day. We got to deal with it. So Ilhan is escaping justice for the time being. The J.D. Vance fraud task force now underway. The Minnesotan Oversight Board is looking into this, and hopefully justice is coming soon for the Minnesota and the Somali fraudsters, and not just them, all of the other fraudsters throughout the country. So we're going to keep our eye on this one, my friends. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. Now, we've got one final story on the day, and then we'll hear from you. This one was pretty troubling. A government employee now arrested for making major threats against the president. You see, the New York Times is saying he was an FAA employee. His name is called Dean Deliche out of Nashua, New Hampshire. And apparently he emailed the White House saying, I'm going to eliminate the president. And while he was at work at the FAA, he was using his computer to do some very problematic searches on exactly how to concoct and execute this plan. The DOJ posted this in a press release this week saying, a Nashua resident and federal employee was charged by criminal complaint last week for making interstate threats about the president, according to the new announcement. The guy's 35 years old, works for the FAA, so he's helping you land safely, like a lunatic, apparently, who wants to assassinate the president. He conducted various internet searches on his government work computer in late January. We'll read through the complaint. They're wild. He is convicted, 5 years in prison, $250,000 fine. And of course, these are all allegations. Everybody has the presumption of innocence, even though this guy pretty much admitted the whole thing. So this is taking place out of the District of New Hampshire. Case now being unsealed. There was a search warrant and an arrest warrant, all of it now on the public docket. He has also applied, I do believe, for a public defender. And here is what the criminal complaint looked like out of the District of New Hampshire. One count, 18 U.S. Code, Section 875C, interstate communication of a threat. Signed here by a special agent, Nathaniel Gamble, and approved by the judge back on May 1. Here's what went down. He says, all right, judge, I need to charge this guy with a crime and get an arrest warrant to go pick him up. I am a special agent with the Secret Service, and I've been employed since 2024. I'm currently assigned to Manchester in New Hampshire. And while employed there, I've investigated federal criminal violations and other threats against the president. In my role with the Secret Service, I completed my training at various locations and foundational training courses on cyber and more. And I've completed more training at this location in Maryland. So this is all of his background and all of the things he's done. The information in this affidavit is based on my personal participation in this investigation. I have not set forth every detail, but I believe this is sufficient to get us a criminal charge and an arrest warrant. Saying all of this is probable cause that this guy is busted. 18 U.S. Code, Section 875C says, whoever transmits in interstate or foreign commerce any communication containing any threat to ... injure the person of another shall be imprisoned and fined not more than 5 years or both. And here's what went down. On or about January 30th, 2026, this year, Secret Service learned about some recent internet searches that were conducted by an employee of the FAA. named Dean Deliche. He is employed as a contractor involved in mechanical engineering. Okay. It's like, so this guy's working on perhaps maybe not the mechanics, like the specific turning wrenches, but some sort of engineering that might take down an airplane. The FAA placed him on suspension based on searches. He comes into his office and work and starts getting on the Googles and starts searching for these things. He utilized his work computer to search in substance the following inquiries. He said, Dear Google, how to get a gun into a federal facility? Previous assassination attempts against the president. Percentage of the population that wants the president dead. Countdown timers or clocks estimating the president's death. The phrase he said into the search engine, I am going to eliminate Donald John Trump. The location of the vice president, J.D. Vance's homes, and the names and the ages of his children. The location of Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War's home, and the name and ages of his children. At some point after running those searches, Deliche took his FAA work computer into the FAA IT department and requested to delete his search history off the device. He says, oh, crap, this isn't good. Then the IT department said, yeah, we'll help you delete your search history. Just leave your computer here with us and we'll take a look at it. They go in there. They're like, holy crap. They reported the concerning searches to the agency within it, ran it up the chain of command. Then they sent it over to the Secret Service. Then on February 3rd, 2026, U.S. Secret Service resident agent in charge called Carrie Meade and an officer from the Nashua Police Department, they went to this guy's apartment in Nashua. And there he admitted to conducting the searches on his FAA work computer, and he was remorseful. He stated he realized that he could not search these subjects and that it was crazy for him to do this on his work computer. Just like snapped. And is propagandized into this. Watch. Deliche expressed in substance that what motivated him to conduct these searches was that he was upset with the current administration based on multiple subjects, including the election, presidential pardons of what, like the J6ers, and the Epstein files, right? He stated that he was also motivated by not wanting to return to in-person work with a coworker who he had previously accused of sexual assault. Now, the FAA had found his complaint unsubstantiated. During the interview, the agent observed the following items written on a whiteboard attached to his refrigerator door. It said on a whiteboard, calm down more, 1 month, no arrest by police, go DC to office if they do not action, say arrest me, I am going to murder Trump per defense of oath. So they show up to interview the guy. He's got this all plastered on a whiteboard. This sounds like a crazy stalker movie. This guy stated that he had no interest in assassinations, but he did conduct a search about assassinations because it was part of the cycle that was going on in his mind. He could not provide a reason other than that as to why he searched for assassinations and attempted assassinations. Now, he mentioned that he was depressed and he sees a therapist and is engaged in ketamine therapy to try to get better. He admitted that he drinks to black out and that he used to drink every day. He also said he used cannabis daily and occasionally uses mushrooms. He admitted that he had possessed a handgun locked inside a safe in his apartment and that he also owned a hunting rifle and another handgun that were at his friend's residence. The interview was not recorded. Great job. Now, on April 21, staff at the White House located in Washington, D.C., where the president lives, an email to the White House's public-facing email address from his Gmail, ddeliche@gmail.com. The subject is contact the president. In that email, it stated in the body of the email, I, Dean Deliche, am going to neutralize/kill you, Donald John Trump, because you decided to kill kids and say that it was war when in reality it is terrorism. God knows your actions and where you belong. Guys, totally nuts. So based on the foregoing, I submit that there is probable cause to believe that this guy has committed the crime of interstate communication of a threat, and I request a criminal complaint and an arrest warrant be issued. A FAA mechanical engineer is sending this from his work computer, evidently, right over to the White House. So the docket has now come down, and they explain the following. There was an initial appearance that happened earlier this week. He was advised of the rights and the charges. He has been approved for a public defender. Preliminary hearing is now scheduled for 5/19. Detention hearing as to him was held yesterday. The detention hearing suspended to allow the USP to conduct further verifications, probation probably, and others. His attorney has now been appointed to a public defender. He had filled out a financial affidavit, and all of this has been unsealed and is now available. Let's see. I do believe that he's being held pending the next court proceedings. So that's another person who, as we've seen many times over here, has become just completely obsessed with eliminating Trump. It's the same story. If convicted, 5 years in prison, $250,000 fine, and had a handgun at his home. So fortunately, he sent an email, so we got to figure it out before he actually tried something on this. But more threats to kill Trump, people being brainwashed, PDF file, Epstein file, terrorism, you are killing children, so on and so forth. Almost like they want somebody to succeed. And every time there is an attempt, just like at the White House Correspondents Association dinner, you see a whole slew of leftists on TikTok and elsewhere saying, oh, if only there was a better shot or something sick like that. So another one, this time a government employee who works on airplanes. Fortunately, he's not there anymore. And we can travel with a little bit more peace of mind. So we'll keep our eye on this one and all of the other lunatics out there trying to assassinate the president. And it seemingly continues to grow every day. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, friends, if you're just getting here, it has been just a tremendous stream. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Quick recap on what we talked about today. Total raid in Virginia for this woman, Senator Louise Lucas. We heard exactly what went down from the New York Times. It was a Biden-era investigation. This is not political retribution from President Trump. We saw that they were there on scene. We explained and saw that there are other very problematic concerns with their other businesses. In this case, Lucas Lodge, which is a disability center to provide service for adults that apparently is killing people or seriously injuring them. The daughter was out. She looks like she's a little high right outside the cannabis outlet. I don't know what's going on over her. Same thing going on with the missing congresswoman. She was out partying with her daughter this weekend. I was partying my ass off all weekend long. Where the hell were you? Preparing a search warrant for all of your locations, says the FBI. We also saw she called other blue state senators, people in the cuck chair, and then showed up on scene and feigned ignorance about the whole thing, had no idea what was going on. We got updates about the Virginia Supreme Court map battle. Dan Turrentine explaining that it's not looking good. They're having their doubts about whether this is going to be upheld, and the Supreme Court now denying the final challenge on the Louisiana versus Calais case, which means the racist maps that were drawn and perpetuated by the Democratic Party now can be canceled and rescinded, and so the Constitution can be complied with, all in the first segment. Then we talked about Ilhan Omar, and Minnesota is now getting their hands on some other records that were in the trial of Amy Block, the Feeding Our Future fraudster, who was convicted, now scheduled for sentencing, apparently might be leaking some materials that implicate Ilhan and her office. Fox News reporting on this. They tried to subpoena Ilhan Omar, but the Minnesota legislature did not want to do that on the Oversight and Fraud Committee. They just said, it's okay. Let it go on for a while. Lots of communication back and forth between her office and the fraudsters. We got reports from Fox News. We heard from Dr. Oz. We heard from the Inspector General. We saw J.D. Vance says 85% of Somalians, even if they're not fraudsters, they're on the government dole. And Trump singling out Tim Walz, the Attorney General, and Ilhan Omar as all being complicit and having knowledge of this scam. So then we talked about this maniac employee who said that he was going to eliminate the president, put it in an email, did some pretty horrific searches, and sent all of that to the White House in a beautiful stream. Thank you for joining us, my friends. Now it's time to hear from you. Thank you for being here. Happy Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday. And then the day after that, pretty sure, is Friday. Making our way through the week. And we had some good stories today. And friends, we got some nice donos today. Thank you for sending these in. And let's see who we've got on the day. We've got some new membos. Oh my gosh. Look at this one. Okay, so here's the FBI raiding somebody. Why is there a menorah back there? I don't know. Gigum Gigum says, but then if you work AI with an artist's flair, finesse and polish things a bit, once in a while you get something sweet. Couldn't let this little gem of a moment go. It's me and Brandon Gill. Pumping iron, baby. You never walk past a dumbbell, ever. Not if you're a man, okay? Walk past a dumbbell without lifting it up. That's a real photo, by the way. It looks pretty good. I was trying to do the Brandon Gill swirly curly Q. I can't do it like him. He's the one and only. We love Brandon Gill, so hopefully if he ever sees this, he knows that we appreciate his work. We actually like him a lot. I think he could start the curly Q congressman momentum. We can retake this country back, baby, with that great hairdo. So that was from yesterday. We tried to do it yesterday. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So Gigum, thank you for that. I'm going to go back and save that one. Thank you for making it for us. And shout out to Brandon Gill. He's a real congressman. We appreciate what he's doing. Hey, Airborne Professor, Timmy's spouse has a friend and he is okay with it. Timmy's spouse has oh, I see. Yeah, Tim Walz, his wife's boyfriend, is okay with the fraud. So that means Tim Walz is okay with the fraud. Yeah, that sounds about right. Hey, thanks for that one coming in from Airborne Professor up in the air. Thank you for sending the dono in and for being here. Hey, Orby Treadwell. What's up, Orby Treadwell? Thanks for becoming a member. We had a great members only stream this morning. We talked about, the elections. And Katie Porter, she had a meltdown at the California gubernatorial debate last night. It was rough. She's a terrible person. And she put it on all display last night. It was fun. Thank you, Orby. Check out the stream from this morning if you're looking for something else to watch. Hey, TW Wright. What's up, TW? I have a friend here in Hampton Roads that owns a grow shop. I've heard for years that only people that paid people off got the licenses to sell weed. Interesting. Is that in Virginia where the pothead senator was? I have a friend here in Hampton Roads that owns a grow shop. I've heard for years that sounds like a lot of things, probably. Liquor licenses and other things. Thank you for the dono. Schlista. Sadly, even if she gets removed, it won't flip the Virginia Senate. Portsmouth is 100% Democrat, probably the most in Virginia due to diversity. Current Senate in Virginia, 21 seats for Democrats. Currently 19 seats for Republicans. Thank you, Schlista. That's pretty close. So they'll just replace her with another Democrat. But maybe it'll be somebody who's not as corrupt. Mock Schnell, what's up? Hey, great stream, Rob. I hope those donos in memory of my mom. Hope you have a great Mother's Day with your wife/mother of your child-to-be and Mama G. Man, thank you, Mock Schnell. Rest in peace to your mama. Thank you for honoring her memory. Thank you for the dono. And we send some love your way as we remember your mama. We're a little bit late today because we had a baby appointment. We are doing a home birth is the plan. It's a pretty big deal. So, I had some questions like, do we need a tarp How big is the tarp? How many tarps do we need? And she's, give me some good answers on that. Thank you, Mock Schnell. Hey, the Rubos. Democrat Rep. Pramila Jayapal announces that she has been working with foreign countries to supply oil to Cuba. In defiance of President Trump, I have called these sanctions an economic bombing of Cuba. Yeah, so isn't that a violation of the law? She's usurping the foreign policy power of the president. That's not her constitutional role. She became a naturalized citizen in 2000. Interesting. That sounds about right. Thank you to the Rubos for the dono. RubosSaltShop.com, the best salt you've ever had in your whole life. So that's Pramila. Great. Chubby, it sure seems like Ketanji is burning what few bridges she might have had in SCOTUS. With such a questionable selection, I'm starting to wonder if she was placed in there as a poison pill rather than an actual judge. She sure seems to be getting worse as the days goes on. Well, she got, wrecked. Like, we've read a lot of Supreme Court decisions here, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone get as wrecked as she did. Kagan didn't support her. Sotomayor didn't support her. Gorsuch and Clarence Thomas, who is a black man, by the way, so every time they keep screaming about racism about the election, he voted in the majority, so eat that one. But then I think she got the message, because in today's decision, she did not dissent anymore. She's like probably got a talking to from somebody. But Chubby, I don't know. If she's a poison pill, what does that ultimately lead to? Like, I think it just makes her wing of the court look terrible. So, like, if the Democrats want to pack the court, what are they going to do? Put in another 5 Ketanjis? It's not going to be very palatable to most people. Mock Schnell, thank you, Mock Schnell, for bringing in 20 new Membo friends, new Membos. Thank you for joining up. We have great members-only streams in the mornings and on Saturdays. This morning, we talked about the elections last night and about Katie Porter and what a nut job she is. Mock Schnell, thank you for the dono and for bringing in 20 new Membo friends in the house. And peace up to your mama. Anthony Peterson, surrender her passport. If not, let her go and accept a $250 million loss while foregoing the devils in the details. So I think you're maybe talking about Ilhan, or maybe having Amy Bach let her go if she is willing to finger the rest of the people who are in their governmental positions. Ilhan, Tim Walz, Keith Ellison, take out the whole party, all the other fraudsters. I would make that trade. Yeah, I would say, yeah, go after the big fish, go after the enablers. It's just like the mob, right? Or drug dealers. You need to go after the production and the distributors rather than the guys on the street selling the crack. Go after the guy who gives it to the guy who gives it to the guy who's selling it on the streets. That's Ilhan Omar. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for the nice dono. Hey, what's up, Dark Rogue? Imagine how good our infrastructure would be if this widespread fraud didn't happen. It's billions of dollars. Billions. Maybe $1 trillion. Like, think about, and it compounds every year. Could build new nuclear power plants. We could have amazing roads. We could actually do things that will survive multiple generations. Build a wall. Remember how much grief we got over the wall? Couple $1 billion. Or the ballroom, like $1 billion. Oh, it's $1 billion. Yeah, Somalians stole 13 of those. They stole 13 ballrooms. Cry harder about that, will you? No, they won't. Thank you, Dark Rogue, for the nice dono. The country's being hollowed out, and all of that is just gone, okay? It doesn't go back in. Like, if you built a nuclear power plant, then we could enjoy that for the next several generations. $14 billion of fraud, let's say $2 billion, 7 nuclear plants that will last for another 100 years so that our kids and their kids have electricity. But no, because we have to have the Amy Box and the Ilhan Omars steal it for their fraudulent communities. King of Biltong is here. What's up? Turn up the flavor with Peri Peri Biltong. It's mild heat, big flavor, over 50% protein to keep you going. Try the full Peri Peri range at BiltongUSA.com. Code Robert for 10% off and enjoy. Hey, Rick D. Yeah, thank you, Rick. So this was the one we just covered. FAA employee, Rick, ahead of the class, as usual, jumping out of airplanes. With threatening to kill the president, he used his work computer to search for how to get a gun into a federal facility. Yeah, and has access, has the key cards, right? Has the ability to do that. Maybe he just lies in wait. Trump comes over to talk at the FAA. He just springs out with a gun. Like, what a psycho. Hey, Dark Road. I remember back during Trump 16, a guy on Facebook protested immigration policy and tried to immigrate to Canada. He was rejected for having no skills to offer the nation of Canada, which is a good reason to reject people. We don't need a gazillion refugees. We've already got a gazillion refugees. We don't need a gazillion TPSers or H-1Bers. We have people who know how to do coding in America. We have people who already need assistance in America. We don't need to import them and then get lectured by Republicans about how bad people we are because we hate immigrants or something like that. No, we don't. We just love America and Americans. Apparently you don't. You have a preference for foreign invaders coming in. Well, they're legal here. You made them legal, you jerks. So I think that would be great. What are you going to add to the country? Are you going to come on here and be one of the 85% of the Somalians who are on welfare or not? Because if you are, rejected every time. I'm sorry things are rough in Somalia. And by the way, I think it's actually the more humanitarian thing to do. If you like, the best people in these countries are going to want to leave because they're sick of the country, right? They actually want a better life. So if you make them stay there, then you prevent the pressure relief valve from releasing, and hopefully they could improve their own countries, is the thesis. But they just leave. And then the criminals just keep running things in their home countries. Maybe Somalia should have a revolution over there. Maybe Ilhan could go represent them, since she cares more about them on Somali TV than she does about Americans. Tag, what's up? 16 months as a membo. It's accountability month. Let's go. Tag, you're right about that. This has been kind of the golden age of DOJ action. Things have been very quiet here for a long time under the prior AG, but we are seeing some new action here. It's been very nice to see it. Thank you, Tag, for being here. 16 months, almost 2 full babies in the house. And you've got a nice young one there with you. Thank you, Tag. Thanks for the nice dono. And we're here for it. We love it. Hey, Dark Rogue, update from Indiana. Pro Tem Senate leader called Todd Bray, who is a Pence Holcomb plant, stepped down after the primary results. Most of his Republicrats got booted. Dark Rogue, you're right about that. Yeah, and thank you, Dark Rogue, for being a membo and for all the donos today. We saw that this morning. I think Trump was like 5 out of 6. There was one that was like a 3 vote that I think it's going to go back for a recount. And then there was one that went the other way, something like that. But yeah, Trump cleaned house. And I think that was in Indiana, right? Where many of them refused to actually do the redistricting because they're like, we're not like the Democrats. We're not engaging in political war. It's like, well, they're engaging in political war. They'd come up and slit your throats, idiots. And they do, like they did in Virginia. So, but they're too good for it, right? Just like John Thune, we can't end the filibuster because then it'll make us look bad or something. But there are political repercussions for that. If you want to be weak and neutered and a spineless Republican, then there's really no room for you here now. Okay. Understand the time that we're in. Understand the stakes that we're playing against and get to work. Otherwise, get out of the way. Thank you, Dark Rogue. Hey, Jim. Thank you. Hey, so we'll send you over. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll send you over to Jim Tells You today. And he'll have a great stream. No doubt about it. Talking about all sorts of fun activities over there. Let me just do that right now because I tend to forget. So click that button, click this button, and then click this button, baby. All right. Have a great stream, Jim. Thank you for the reminder. Sharpie guy. You know, Rob, I never tried to sell myself as the smartest man in the room, but I did look around and think, I wonder if they know that I will outwork them. Yeah, it served me well, brother. Also, me too, man. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Effort is like 99%. You just have to keep showing up. Just keep showing up. Keep showing up. Anyways, also, Colorado was a wonderful place to grow up. And when they legalized drugs, they ruined paradise. I'm sure you know, but want to hear your thoughts. Hugs, love, watchers. Well, I don't know much about Colorado. It seems like an insane place to me at the moment. My beautiful wife, Alexis, is from there. She's still got family there. And I don't know, like we saw their governor, what's his name? Polis, who came out with those Macarenas, with those, and he's saying Feliz Navidad for all the illegal aliens, like the maracas. Feliz Navidad. And then he's got, that's the governor, right, who calls himself a gamer, and he has like the pride flag in his bio, like gamer, like not like a video gamer, but gay, G-A-Y, gamer. It's like, can you just be like a gay person who likes gaming without like having to you're ridiculous, bro. You're a governor of a state. So that's what we think about them. And then they tried to throw Trump off the ballot. And I thought, this place is just nuts. And they got Crazy Eyes Griswold. So totally nuts over there. Anyways, thank you, Sharpie guy. Sharpening man. Good to see you. Chubby, I'm starting to think that Ketanji's ultimate goal is to poison any and all rulings that go against the leftist agenda. Her public speeches, her ignorant dissent, they're all being used by Democrats and leftists as ammunition for their illegitimate SCOTUS proclamations. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. And she may be trying to like anchor in like an early to the table type of thing. Like, let's say she thinks that the long-term trend, like over 40 years, like she'll probably be on there for another 20, 30, 40 years. I hope not. Hopefully she resigns and wakes up. But, you know, she might like think to herself that history will vindicate her in 20 years once the country's flooded with illegals and all the kids are trans at birth. And, you know, it's like illegal aliens can vote in elections and the court is stacked. She may like be thinking, I'm early to this, like, you know, a dissenter in like Dred Scott or something. And I hope that's not, you know, accurate, but that might be her thesis on this. The problem with that is if she's not joined by Kagan and Sotomayor, like if she's hung out to dry because even the other leftists are like, this woman is nuts, then I don't know how that helps them with their repacking argument. But again, I think you may be right about that. Like she is providing cover. Otherwise, things would be a lot more unanimous. And they can't say it's unanimous if you have at least one psycho dissenter out there. So there might be something to that, Chubby. Hey, Rick D. Rob, not sure if you saw this or not, but every Indiana Republican who voted against redistricting lost their primary race. Awesome. Yeah, I didn't see it was everyone. I thought it was like five out of 6 all lost. We did talk about some of that, Rick, this morning. We missed you this morning. But yeah. And a lot of people are still recognizing the president is the leader of the party. Like that's a shocking revelation. G-Gum, my girls used to watch this show every morning before they were going to school for years as they were growing up. It's a goofball show. Anyway, thought you might like this particular episode. It's titled, Can We Endure Pregnancy Pain? Oh my gosh. Is that a dude giving birth? All right, G-Gum, since it's coming from you, I'll click it later, but I don't really want to. But I guess, is he pooping something out of there? What's going on? All right, G-Gum, because we love you, I'll click it later. Dennis, sir, if America is so racist, why is Obama still here? Yeah, it's true. I mean, a lot of them hate the country, but they don't want to go anywhere else because it's so bad here that they want to stay. Also, anyone else notice that the disabled are still waiting for relief? We don't pay taxes, but affected just as much. Amen. From Denniser. Yeah, I agree on the Obama thing. They just hate the country so much, but they don't want to go anywhere else. And everybody wants to come here. Why do all the Somalians want to be here if America is a white supremacist nation? Explain that one, Ilhan. Anthony Peterson, thank you, Dennis, sir, for the dono. Anthony Peterson, hey, give a list of what amount of fraud could optionally be used for nuclear plants, skills trade programs for students, infrastructure jobs, all of it. Yeah, like, look back, right? Look back on like what Eisenhower did with the interstate program. Like we all have roads and highways because they dumped a ton of money into that. We all benefit from multiple generations. We'll continue to benefit from multiple generations. If we have to spend a bunch of money if we have to tax and spend, if we all have to play this stupid game and just, pay huge portions of our income to the government, can they do something good for us, please? Build something useful, something that our kids can enjoy, rather than just having it all siphoned off by illegal aliens and pseudo-illegal aliens or legal migrants who are here in name only. That would be very nice. I like the nuclear plant idea. I've read, I think, some estimates that like the new generations of nuclear power plants could be, and by the way, like we're going to need this for all the data centers and AI, regardless of what your opinion is on it. It's happening. So just get ready for it. And what if you had that like $100 billion, okay, rather than spending $100 billion on something stupid like something welfare or some unnecessary conflict or whatever, $2 billion. I mentioned this a long time ago, I think on a member stream. You could do a 50-state contest. Every state, let's say it costs $2.5 billion. Every state gets $5 billion times 50 different states. So what is that? $250 billion. $250 billion. It's like nothing in terms of government spending. You get to build 2 power plants, and the state that comes up with the best design and implements it the fastest wins, you're on the national coin or something like that. Like make a contest, right? So who can do this? Then we'd have 100 extra nuclear power plants. Look what China is doing with their nuclear power plants. They're making them like hand over fist. It's crazy. And then states can put them where they want, regulate them how they want. Then we'd have 100 new nuclear power plants all across the country that our kids and their kids and their kids' kids would all enjoy. We'd all have very cheap, virtually free electricity for the foreseeable future. It would be a common good. No person can build these on their own, so only the government can help facilitate these things. And we'd all have cheap energy. And it's going to be good for all the robots and all the things. Like something like that, something exciting. And then Trump could say, yeah, this is the Trump power plan, right? And it would be like the Eisenhower Interstate Program or something. So that versus paying for Somalis to steal food. What are we going to get from them? Their crap coming out the other end? Jim tells you, hey, just wanted to say thank you again for the raids. It has really helped. Awesome, Jim. Hope everything went smooth today at the dock. It did go smooth. We met a great lady. Keeping you in my prayers always. Thank you, Jim tells you. We appreciate you, man. And I'm glad they're going well. And hopefully your streams are going well. And friends, thanks for supporting our other friends out there who are on the side of truth. Thank you, Jim. So anyways, friends, thank you so much for sending those donos in. Very much appreciate it. Thanks for hanging with us here as we close things out. We have some thank yous to say to the Eric's House donors. Eric's House, of course, is a nonprofit organization that is linked in the description below. We had our big annual fundraiser this past weekend. You can still donate if you're interested. We'd love it. And you can also go bid for something. So there's all sorts of amazing things to bid on. You can get, trips and golf course tickets, and that's a nationwide thing. So check it out. Get something good. Order something for your mama and contribute to Eric's House if you're interested in doing that. Links are all in the description below. We had a ton of donations that came in from the Watcher fam. So we're going to say thank you to several more people here in just a moment. Reladella. Yeah, over on locals. Either way, on the redistribution, Trump still needs to make Virginia square again. No, make DC square again. How many seats would go? An anniversary gift to the nation. Yeah, we covered this I think a week and a half ago. There's a really good constitutional argument for this. It's called a retrocession, right? So the Constitution says 10 mile by 10 mile square district. They created it. Then before the Civil War, a bunch of slaveholders said, actually, we want this land back in Virginia. They needed to pass the vote in 2 locations before the retrocession would be valid. Yeah, you meant DC. There you go. And it needed to pass the county and the town. It didn't pass both the county and the town. One of them voted no, the other voted yes. But the bigger of the 2 had more votes. And so they combined them into one final vote. And they said, oh, it passed. So it's illegal. All Trump needs to do is issue an executive order. It's never been challenged in the Supreme Court. We did a whole segment on it. It was actually very fascinating. So, and if you did that, then all of the Alexandria folks, we were just in here for the baby today, all of it very leftist would go back to DC, which is already like 94% leftist. So you'd be cabining off in a big giant playpen all of the bureaucrats and all of the federal money that feeds the bureaucrats back into one location as it's supposed to be. This one from Star says, what's going on here? Talking about Daisy Duck and your grandbabies and all the things. Hey, so I'll read this after we're done here from Star. Says, love you, Rob, Alexis, and Little Generic. I always forget Mama Gouveia and Joey, them too, of course. Wish D's could appreciate the little things like this. Their lives would be so much more fulfilling, wouldn't it? And are these pictures of young kids out here? Oh, it's your pup. Amazing. So you put your, oh my gosh, look at these ducks. Okay, so we've got some photos here. Ducks in the background, little pup chasing the ducks. Ducks traveling through. And I think you wrote like a little short story over there. So thank you, Star. Daffy looks identical to Dookie and Dipsy. Daughters paddling across the street. Amazing, Star. Thank you for the nice comment. Amy Ann. Hey, Rob, want a side gig? They need prosecutors in the civil division. Yeah, he doesn't have time, says Jack Hudler. I mean, I sometimes think about getting back into practicing law, but I think we could probably do something that's more in alignment with what we do here, like something like what Judicial Watch does with FOIA requests and things like that. But I got to find the time, man. It's, I got to find the time. But they did. This morning, they announced a big $25,000 bonus for the Civil Rights Division. So if you're interested in that and you want a big fat bonus, check it out. They're doing it. Hey, Gigo, just wondering if you're going to cover the Elon versus the Sam Altman one. I doubt it. There's kind of a lot of stuff going on right now. If there wasn't as much stuff going on, then we would consider it. It's a big case. And this is a real photo, by the way, when I used to be an Android robot. It's a real photo. Thank you, Jigam. Looks pretty cool, too. Just upgrade your chip. Actually, if this was real, this show would probably be a lot better, have a lot more brain power here. But thank you, Jigam. Probably not Elon versus Altman, unless there's like overwhelming interest for it. But we have a lot to cover. I mean, we had a jammed show today. There's other things that I've got queued up that we haven't even hit yet. But that is a big one. And of course, I'm kind of keeping that on my eye out of the side peripheral. Thank you, Jigam, for the nice dono and the nice GIF. Friends, it's been a beautiful stream. And so we're going to leave it here. We're going to say thank you to some Eric's House donos, and then we'll call it a night. See if we got any comments on X. Hey, Right to Think is over there. Freedom Titan says, every patriot who posted, podcasted, or participated to bring this out is to be commended and applauded. Thank you, Freedom Titan. I think we're a part of that. Keep up the pressure. Dems are losing it and rhinos are being defeated. 'Tis a good day, from Freedom Titan over on X. Hey, Trump was a part of the raid today. Looking good, Mr. President. Nice trigger discipline there, sir. Amazing. And hey, Jody, highlight of the show was the Curls twins from Jigam. LOL, God bless. It was good. I think it's a real photo. I gotta get together with Brandon Gale. Maybe I can invite him over for an interview and we can curl it up together. He probably hates me. All right, so let's say hello and thank you to some Eric's House friends. Of course, this is the Eric's House Give Butter page. It's linked down in the description below. And this is the bidding page. So look at all this amazing stuff that you can get. Escape to an adults-only all-inclusive Galley Bay. Brunch for 6 at Postino's. Las Vegas Interstellar Art tickets. Maestros and Machines at New York City. 4 tickets to the Museum of Illusions in Charlotte. All in the link down below. And anything that you buy and bid on is going to Eric's House. It's going to support Eric's House. So we would love it if you would check that out if you're interested in it. And friends, we had some amazing donos come in on the event. So I want to say thank you to Beverly B. Beverly B says, I want to thank Rob for providing such an amazing community that's wholesome while still illuminating the corruption. I want to thank Mama G for her dedication to such an incredible and important cause. The work you do is beautiful. Mama G, that's from you, from Beverly. Also, thank you for sharing your dynamic and magnetic son, Rob, with all of us. He's a huge part of my day, and I'm so appreciative of his enthusiastically positive spirit. Beverly B, thank you so much, Beverly. Really awesome of you to say that. Thank you for supporting Eric's House and for being a part of our community. You rock. We got Paula S. says, in loving prayers for your brother and prayers for your entire family. And thank you for that, Paula S. You're amazing. Prayers up for my bro and everybody who's lost someone. Anna W. sent one in. Anna W., thank you so much for the dono. Gerald S. says, sounds like a great fundraiser. Keep up the great work. And that one from Gerald came in honor of Heather. Heather R., in honor of Heather R. So Gerald, shout out to you. Thank you for supporting Eric's House. And we pause to honor Heather R. Thank you, Gerald, very much. Deborah Swisher H. Hey, thank you, Deborah, for this one. Says, in loving memory of my brother from another mother, Rob. Thank you, Deborah. Was a beautiful soul that couldn't take the pain any longer. Maybe that's not me, Rob. It's another Rob. Couldn't take the pain any longer. Miss his light in my life. Deborah, thank you for the nice dono. And prayers up for your brother from another mother named Rob. May he rest in peace, along with our other loved ones. Hey, the Rubos were here. Donald and Cheryl Rubo, in honor of Robert Rubo, said, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. Numbers 6:24 through 26. From the Rubos, may your brother Robert rest in peace, hanging up there with my brother Eric. Thank you to the Rubos, rubosaltshop.com. Hey, Marilyn W. Thank you, Marilyn. Very nice. Says, thanks for all you do to bring truth to the world. Thank you, Marilyn W., for being here. Thanks for supporting Eric's House. That one came in on May 1st. We got JL. Man, Jay, this is a big one. Thank you, JL. Says, I love supporting Eric's House as it is a great cause and very much needed. Keep up the great work. Man, we will, Jay. And that's a nice dono. That's going to help a lot of people. And we really appreciate you taking the time to go over there and support Eric's House with your generosity. Kevin P. Thank you, Kevin. No comment on that one, but Kevin P., very appreciative of what you sent in. Thank you so much for doing that. Back on May 1. Natalie Ray in the house. We know who she is. Hey, God bless. I am extremely honored to donate to your amazing organization. Thank you, Natalie. Very generous of you as well. Natalie, you're an amazing person through and through. We really appreciate everything you've done for us. So, Natalie, thank you for sending that one in. Very big one, courtesy of Susan S. Susan. No comment, no in honor of, but a very, very generous dono. We appreciate that. We are going to put that to good use. Thank you for sending that one in and for being you. That's really, really helpful. Thank you, Susan S. Hopefully you know who you are. Charles Zimbelman. Man, you guys are so generous. Charles Z in the house. Sent one in May 1. Charles, your support of Eric's House is going to go a long way, and we're grateful to have you here as a part of what we're doing. Don N. Hey, thank you for everything you do to help so many. That's going to my mama and the Eric's House crew from Don N. Thank you, Don. We're definitely appreciative of your ability to enable that. We got Larry M. Thank you, Larry. Again, no comment. Larry, thank you, Larry M. Back on May 1. Very generous of you, Larry. Thank you for that. Jerry W. That's rub some dirt on it. Thank you, Jerry. Very generous as always. Says, Mama G's work continues to bless us. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, Jerry. And that's Galaxy Whirlpool Galaxy in the house. Thank you so much, Jerry. You rock. Hey, Michelle P. Rob, having become a widow just a short 18 months ago after 35 years of marriage, I know the importance of having the support Eric's House can give to those suffering loss, much less under tragic circumstances. I still struggle many days, so the long-term need of this beautiful program is crucial. Prayers help, and I am sending mine to all those seeking help through Eric's House. Much love, Michelle Parsons. Signed, Michelle Parsons. Thank you, Michelle. Very nice dono, and a very nice comment. 35 years of marriage, 18 months ago. I'm sorry for your loss, Michelle. Thank you for supporting Eric's House and for your testimony, because it is true. It is very, very true. And we're glad that you're here. Thank you for being a part of our community and being a part of the Eric's House work. And a couple more, and then we'll come back tomorrow. Eric W. Man, you guys really showed up. Thank you, Eric W. This one's in memory of Alex Kittner. So we pray for Alex Kittner. Eric W. said, God bless you and thank you for Eric's house. Thank you, Eric. Eric W. in loving memory of Alex Kittner. We pray. Lori Hutton. Hey, sending healing thoughts and prayers for all who are struggling with the loss of a loved one. Rob, you do so much good in so many ways. You have no idea how many lives you're positively influencing. Lori, every single day, bless you and your family. Man, thank you, Lori. Lori H. in the house. Thank you for sending that in. I don't deserve any of that credit, but thank you, Lori. Thanks for being a part of our community. We could not do it without you. Thank you for supporting Eric's house as well. Cynthia N. in memory of Nick says, suicide runs rampant in my family. My nephew, Nick, I think it's Nick, maybe, is greatly missed. I am too proud to say that I am 10 years safe and it takes works. Man, amazing, Cynthia. Yeah, that's great news that you're safe now. Suicides are a problem because they can almost become a contagion, like a social contagion. And they have these suicide clusters and it's not good. So Cynthia, we're glad you're here. Thank you for the nice dono and for sending that one back in on May 1. And Carla D, we'll wrap on this one today. Says, in memory of Joe from 1983 to 2025. And in memory of, this one's in memory of Dave Martinez. Sorry about that. Carla Davidson. My brother's drinking took him too soon. Man, almost got me too. His death has been the hardest thing in my life. Some wounds never heal. Carla, I'm sorry for your loss. May your brother, Dave Martinez, rest in peace. And thank you for sharing your testimony here with us. And thank you for supporting Eric's house. All right. And so, friends, we'll pause there. That was all just one day. We'll wrap these up throughout the week. And of course, I'd encourage you, if you're interested, to go and contribute at ericshouse.org, because it's a 501c3, all nonprofit, all goes to a great cause. And man, as you can see, there are people out there who need it. So it's something that hit our family. We lost my brother in 2016 and still grieving over it. But thank you for supporting Eric's house. And if you're in a position like this right now, where you lost somebody, or you know somebody who's lost somebody, suicide, overdose, or sudden and tragic death, or tragic, ericshouse.org will help you through it. It's a resource that our family did not have when we went through it ourselves. So friends, man, so generous. Thank you so much. All right, we'll come back tomorrow. We'll pick it up with Terry and continue our thank yous. So grateful. All right, so before we close it out, we had one more comment from Quadcam. I get the sentiment about making DC square again, but it seems like it would be short-sighted and give the Dems even more of a reason to make DC a state. Seems like the opposite direction would be best, having DC be only the capital area without any residential areas. Well, then that would just send all the blues in DC out, right? So then the blue areas would get even bluer. The Constitution says it's in the Constitution. So I think if they wanted to make DC a state, I think we need a constitutional amendment to do that. So the likelihood of that happening, I think, is very low. The better strategy, I think, is to just cabin off the blues, because I don't think that they can make DC a state, really. So you're returning DC to its original form. I don't know that the backlash would be enough to get a constitutional amendment passed. Do other people around the country care that DC doesn't have representation at all? I don't think so. Maybe. But thank you, Quadcam. There are always unintended consequences. You never know. Never know what's going to happen. So, all right. So, friends, we'll pause here and leave it here on the night. Thank you so much for the donos. Once again, thanks for your support of Eric's house. We got some interesting gifts over here on Locals right now. But all right, we'll pause here. It's been a beautiful stream. Tomorrow's going to be Thursday. Then it's Friday. We'll come back tomorrow to get into it again. Before we close it out, big thanks to our amazing mods and meme smiths. John in the house. We got Muffin Rando. We got Donut Mind Me. We got K-Bean, Carrie B. We got Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger, Gigum Gigum with a very interesting YouTube recommendation. We got Elliot and Just Rhonda all modding the fort down for us, keeping things nice and orderly. And my friends, thank you for being here. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking the video on the way out. YouTube, hang tight. You'll be sent over to Jim Tells You. Have a great stream, Jim. And we'll see you back here tomorrow, because in order to do all of this appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here, so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system, with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night. Sleep very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. Watching the watchers. Eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through the scripted ruse. Together we are watching the watchers, shining the light. Watching the watchers, defending what's right. Watching the watchers, stay each night together in